was like very few people getting in actively contributing. If all of us can get in and actively contribute, I think it can become much, much better.
Thank you.
Thank you. We did overcome a couple of challenges like, application vulnerabilities, audit and logging policies. But the biggest challenge that we have really overcome is about user ID management. The typical ad hoc provisioning, deprovisioning of users in various applications, onboarding new employees coming in and being assigned, given access to applications, and then auditors later coming and, putting up all sorts of questions, not finding the appropriate records, and then exit of employees. Employees would leave the organization and their IDs would remain active. And so how we overcame that was by implementing identity and access management, the IDAM. We have actually integrated all our applications, the complete OSS and BSS stack, of about 45 applications, we have integrated on the IDAM. And of course, it does provide single sign-on and other benefits, but from a security perspective, we are able to manage all the user IDs. It was a technical challenge to implement, ready-to-use adapters were not available, and there were also challenges in terms of processes, because these processes span across multiple functions, not just IT, but HR and business. And, to have the buy-in, to have the process implemented, and to have this IDAM implemented, we were able to finally successfully do it, and we have been able to overcome that in a very big manner, in a very big way. Besides IDAM, we have also implemented a KPI as part of the monthly operational KPIs, the security KPIs. One of them is this. So monthly, the reconciliations of the inactive, the dormant user IDs and their count and reconciliations and all of that is now being tracked through the monthly KPI, and that has become an SLA for our outsourced service provider.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a tough part of my job, if you would, because I do have one more question, but I think we'll play sort of the 60-second game, if you would, which is going to be very difficult when people are so involved and know so much about a topic. I'll ask the question, but ask if you could, in deference and respect to our guests, that if we keep our response to 60 seconds. I can't even ask that in 60 seconds, but I'll ask of you. So the question here, and I think it's a wonderful question, should compliance drive security or security drive compliance? And the example here is, there was a discussion recently with chief executive somewhere and said it was cheaper for them to pay the fines than to pay for security. Mikhail, please.
Right. So I have 60 seconds of
60 seconds.
Okay. Now the point is, what kind of compliance-driven or a security-driven atmosphere exists in India? I believe that there exists two India as such. One is compliance-driven, and second is security-driven. Most of the technology companies in India are basically security-driven. Compliance comes second to them. Why I'm saying this? Because most of the technology companies in India, they are looking from a point of view of that we will follow the laws everywhere, but we will not follow the same laws in India. Yes, I am acting as an agent provocator, but yes, this is the truth. We are following the laws, or we are going to follow the laws everywhere, but we will not follow the same laws in India. Why? Because this is our security concern. So this is what I am looking into, that we are looking into a two-word model here. One is a compliance law, second is a security laws. So if we are looking into these two things, then yes, there exists a dichotomy.
Thank you very much. Ward?
I want to talk real fast on this one. I don't think you can really answer that question until you look at the backdrop or the environment that you're working in. And to me, being a hard-nosed regulator for a lot of years, I started out with kind of a militaristic command and control approach. I worked more into, at this point, spending the necessary time to develop good contracts. So you've got your rules explained up front, and you are exhaustive in that, and you don't spring surprises on doing that. So you ask the right questions, you develop a good SLA, so you know what the operating terms are. And there's always one clause that I insist be in my contracts, and that's a termination for convenience by either party. Because you cannot write a perfect contract anymore, you can write a perfect security plan. And the time may come that it just doesn't work out. And you may have to pay from one side or the other to exit that contract, but believe me, it'll be worth it if you have it in there. And a good example of how it works well when you know the rules are if Howard and I go out on our Harleys and we decide to ride 150 kilometers, and we know we're going to get a ticket. And we'll probably pay a fine on that first time, but it doesn't end there. We also get our insurance rates raised. And then we get points slapped against our licenses. And if we go out there and do that a second time, we will get more points against our license, and our insurance goes up again. A third time, we lose our license. Clear, simple, and very straightforward. So to me, I think you have to enforce the rules, but you have to make sure your guidelines and your rules are understood by all parties.
And you're also in debt to me for 1 minute and 20 seconds over. Thank you. Dr. Bajaj.
I'll try and take 1 minute only. I think it's compliance, market, technology, and threats that drive security. And I believe they will continue to be. In the example which Howard mentioned, I think the person or the in charge of security there or the CEO has not looked into cost of breach to an organization. It is not merely implementation cost, but what a breach could do if security is not implemented, which is loss of reputation and loss of complete business also. So hence security has to be implemented, but these four will continue to drive for all time to come, I believe.
Thank you very much.
It's working, yeah. I guess there's no one answer as we've seen it out there. I believe personally that you have to start with implementing security, and that's the hygiene that you create. Maybe adopt the best practices like 27001 and have the basic stuff, and then look at what vertical am I addressing and what are the compliance needs of that vertical. Yes, you talked about fiscal, you just can't go crazy about spending and then not realize the benefits of that. So you have to see what is the penalties, but what is the probability of multiple occurrences of the penalties also. It's not just a one-time penalty, and that's the example you gave. It could be multiple occurrences, and I could be growing the penalties. There's lots of reputation concern out there. Now, I've had situations which I can give an example. We had a situation where we were supposed to provide a 24/7 uptime, and it's a compliance requirement for a process. And it said that if you are not, then for every hour you're out, or every minute you're out, the process loss is so much, and you will be dinged so much.